What's going on, everyone? It's Aaron Williams, and today I'm going to be reacting to Mr. Mindblock's Thomas comic dub, Mike versus George. I have no idea what this is about, but all we know, we got George and Mike, so who knows? They might go to a boxing ring and fight, but I'm looking forward to seeing this. I like comic dubs, so let's see what they got here.
The road along the Little West
Hey, it's Stitch Underground.
near the miniature railway had been damaged over the winter. What was once smooth tarmac was now full of cracks and potholes. It wasn't
like the music.
safe for lorries and buses to travel on the road, as poor Bulgy discovered one morning.
It's all the railway's fault. They ruined my beautiful roads just to pay me out. I don't know how, but they did it, I tell you.
The engines all laughed at Bulgy's misfortune.
Whatever you say, Bulgy. We'll try not to go mad with all this peace and quiet. Free the roads from railway tyranny!
But nobody was laughing the next day when they saw
Oh, boy.
the sentimental road. Yes, it was none other than George the Steamroller.
Railways are no good. Turn them into roads.
I don't know who voices George,
Some of the
but it's a
engines
terrible
liked George.
voice.
He was always making fuss about how railways should be ripped up.
Rollers are rubbish, so good riddance.
His nasty attitude caused trouble for himself
Oh, yeah.
and everyone around him. Some engines knew this for a fact. Some thought he was even worse than Bulgy. At least Bulgy respected the fellow road vehicles. George, on the other hand, barely respected anyone.
Huh. Call yourself a car? You're a disgrace to the road. Find yourself a scrapyard.
Dang.
The engines on the Little Western were very unhappy with having George around.
We trade in for one anti-rail nonsense for an even nastier one.
Ugh, ain't that always the way?
Oh, so much for getting some peace and quiet around here.
Duck looked towards the major engines in concern.
Take care, you lot. George is a brute through and through, and he doesn't take kindly to anyone.
Rex snickered
That is
looking
true.
at the grumpy red engine.
Sounds like someone I know. Fuh, that overgrown rolling pin doesn't scare me.
Duck liked to show off how tough and strong he was.
Nor me. If George gives me any trouble, I'll just push him aside.
That's a good
All right,
voice.
That's enough, you two. George will only be here for a few days. Just don't bother him, and he won't bother us.
The little engines didn't know George that well, but didn't seem to worry. Duck, on the other hand, was very worried.
Don't say I didn't warn you.
We'll see what happens.
So for several days, the workmen laid the tile over the cracks and filled the holes in the road.
I love the music.
Then, George rolled the tile nice and flat. For a while, things were peaceful. George was enjoying himself and felt very pleased with his work. But then they reached the level crossing. Repairing this section took longer than the rest, as every now and then, the workmen had to step aside to let the trains go by. The men didn't mind the break. They liked to wave to the engines as they passed by.
Hello, Rex.
George, however, did mind.
Why should I stop for those railway tinker toys? They keep interrupting my important work. My beautiful road will never be finished at this rate.
Oh, hush. We're making good time. Besides, they still have a railway to run. And unless we absolutely have to block the track, they'll just have to put up with it.
Huh. My work's more important than those rail-bound pipsqueaks. Why can't they wait for me?
Then, a devious idea
Oh, nobody
down
had you,
George's
George.
funnel.
Yes, I'll do it tomorrow.
The next morning, Bert was happily making his way down to the ballast mines with a line of hopper trucks. There was a large order of ballast needed. Bert was making good time until he rounded the bend near the level crossing.
Gah! Bust my boiler!
His driver braked just in time. George was sitting on the tracks blocking the line.
Huh.
George, what are you doing? Let me through.
No can do, Puffball. We're still working on this part of the road. You'll just have to wait.
There's no time to wait. I have ballast to collect for Duck's train.
Then that rattling heap of scrap iron will have to wait too.
Honestly, George, be reasonable. We still have a railway to run.
And I have a road to fix. If I keep letting you Tinker Toys interrupt my work, it'll never get done. Now tootle off.
Dang.
Unless you want to be recycled under my roller.
George rolled forward slowly, trying to scare Bert. Bert wasn't easily scared, but he was cross. So is his driver.
Come along, Bert. Let's just go back.
I forgot
There's
how.
no point
I keep forgetting how
arguing with this
small the
jabaloni.
engines are.
So Bert sighed and puffed back to the yard while George smiled with triumph.
He can't possibly stay on the line all day.
But George could, and he did. Whenever another engine came along trying to get through the
Yo,
crossing,
Duncan theme.
there was George blocking the line. No matter what any of them did or said,
Oh, yo, that's
he wouldn't
I
move.
forgot his name.
Some of them were even afraid that he would flatten them with his roller. In the end, they all crawled back to the yard, too frustrated to argue with George. That's how it went all morning. George felt very pleased with his plan. Now he could work in peace. Back at the yards, things were far from peaceful. George was blocking the line. Everyone was trapped. Trucks, passengers were delayed,
Dang.
and no one could collect the ballast for Doc. Everyone was complaining to
Gas
Mr.
my eyes.
Fergus Duncan, but he could only answer so many at once. The engines were fuming in the shed.
This is ridiculous. How can one entitled steamroller monopolize the whole railway?
I tried to warn you. George doesn't do anything
Yep.
halfway. That includes
Gosh,
steaming.
my eye.
He's got to wear himself out eventually.
Huh. That mongrel's got a stubborn street fear to Vickerstown. I'm surprised his boiler hasn't burst from it.
Would it be so bad if it did?
The engines agreed that something must be done, but none knew what. Mike was unlikely quiet all day. Finally, he spoke up.
Look at you all. That oversized rowing pin is trying to ruin our railway, and all you're doing is moping and trying to reason with him. Oh yes, because you never mope around the yard. I'm serious. There comes a time when words aren't going to fix anything. You have to stand
Yeah.
up on your own wheels and show that entitled creep they can't push you around anymore.
I mean, that's true.
Max was only
but-
teasing, but
Well then, Mike, if you think standing up to George is so easy, why don't you do it?
Mike didn't even wait to answer.
I think I will.
Instead,
Ooh.
he buckled up to Bert's hopper trucks, and he flounced out of the yard.
Oh gosh.
Oh wait, Mike, I was kidding. Oh, now he takes me seriously.
He can't go out there. That George is a monster.
What happened to I'll push George aside, Jock?
I changed my mind when he said he'd squish me.
You can't squish
Oh
you.
dear. Nothing good can come from those two clashing.
Aye, 'tis a brave thing the wee engine's doing.
Brave and foolish, more like. Well, all we can do now is hope for the best. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Hey, Frank, if something goes wrong, do you want Mike's space in the shed?
Yeah.
No one said anything.
Frank,
George
that's
was
his name.
enjoying
Okay.
himself more than ever. No engine could get in the way or interrupt his work. The workmen were not enjoying themselves. They even thought George was being ridiculous, and they missed watching the engines go by as they worked. But George wasn't grumbling, and maybe they could finish the job,
Uh-oh.
or maybe not.
Huh? Here we go again.
Sure enough, coming around the bend was a very determined Mike.
Heh, he'll get scared and run away. They always do.
But Mike wouldn't
Nope.
run away. His eyes burned with determination.
Oh boy.
Move!
Nothing doing. You'll just have to wait like all your scaredy friends.
Well, I'm not like my scary friends. I'm tired of waiting for you to drag your fat bunker off my railway.
Ooh.
What the fat bunker? Listen here, Pipsqueak. I've squashed steaming piles of scrap like you for less than that. Do yourself a favor and crawl home before you get crunched.
I'm not moving for an oversized rowing pin. Now
All
stand
right,
aside
let's go.
and let me
Get that
through.
work in. It's about to go down.
Make me.
Come on, scrap. Let's
Neither
go.
Mike or George would move an inch. They just glanced each other down.
Ah, come
Burning
on.
hatred.
Come on, square up.
Standing
Let's go.
The workmen stood well back. The air was tense and thick. No one even dared to breathe.
Oh. Yeah. Oh.
No one was hurt. When Mike's whistle started, George so much it burst into his barrier.
All right. Well.
He looked very shaken. The workmen were very surprised, but tried not to laugh.
Thank you. Now was that so hard?
George didn't answer. He just watched as Mike puffed away.
You shouldn't have done that, Mike. You know you'll be in trouble for this, right? I don't care. I showed that galloping tricycle what's what, and that's all that matters.
Mike just smiled to himself, feeling
Yeah,
very
but I
pleased.
don't think it's the top hat and the what's his
He
name?
wasn't so pleased later that
So
evening,
night.
for there was one person
no,
Mike
sorry.
truly was afraid of. Mr. Fergus Duncan
Mr.
and
Fergus
Sir
Duncan.
Tom Hat called Mike and George to the yard, and both controllers looked very disappointed.
Uh-oh.
Now, Mike, I'm pleased with you finishing the ballast work, but not how you achieved it. Playing tricks like that around a work site is very dangerous.
Mike felt very ashamed.
George could have backed into something important, or people could have gotten hurt, or
Yeah.
worse.
George just snickered.
As for you, George,
Uh-oh.
you've been worse. You were brought in to mend the roads, not cause calamity by deliberately blocking the rails for no real reason. But sir, the engines were disturbing the workmen.
No, they weren't. We were told to clear the lines when they came by, and we did. You were the one making a fuss.
Boom.
Now George looked ashamed, and he was fresh out of excuses.
The roads still need repairing, and we still have railways to run.
But if we hear you two causing trouble again, then George, I shall take away your roller and have you sawing wood at the timber mill.
Oh.
And Mike, I shall take away your red coat and have you painted green again.
Ooh. No.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yes,
Sorry, sir. By the way, sir.
And that was that. For the rest of the week,
Well-
George worked on the road repairs in silence.
That worked,
He
though.
didn't make a fuss or try to block anyone. Mike or any of the other engines went past, he just looked away. In turn, Mike and the other engines didn't even look at George. It was very tense and silent for a few days. But at last, the road was done, and George went home in disgrace. Things returned to normal on the Lower Western, but for several days, Mike acted very pleased with himself.
I think I liked it better when you were grumpy. Ha! You're all just jealous because I was the one who got rid of George. I stood up to him while the rest of you just ran away with your tenders behind your wheels. Is that so? The way I heard, it sounds like George wasn't scared by you, just your whistle.
Ha.
And I can't blame him. It's the most hideous thing I've ever heard.
Dang.
The other engines just laughed and laughed. But Mike was so cross, his face was so red as his boiler. Doc was trying not to laugh himself.
Never mind them, Mike. It took a brave engine to stand up to George.
That made Mike feel a little bit better, but for the longest time, the grumpy miniature engine didn't want to hear any more about steamrollers.
The end. Alright, hold on. Let's see the. Alright. Sid Underground did a great job as the narrator. The Ginger Engine as Douglas and Mr. Fergus Duncan. Good job. Jock, Ely Goodwin. Good job. Mindbox did a great job with these characters: Mike, Rex, Bert, Frank, Phineas, Workman, and Drivers. Now, unfortunately, this Aaron Williams guy right here, I don't know who the frick he is, but he needs to work on his voices because all these are his George, Donald, Duck, Oliver, at the top man, they're terrible. Alright, they're just terrible. Alright, he needs to work on those voices. Nah, man, it's too much. Oh wait. That's me. Oh. Oh. But anyway, I liked it. I liked the story, but it's a comic dub, so I'm mainly just focusing on the voice acting than the story, since I already know what the story is. But I do like the story. But the voice acting is really good. I liked it. I had a lot of fun playing George, Donald. Wait, was it Donald or was it Douglas? Wait, I'm a little confused. I think I was Douglas or was I Donald? I can't remember. Duck, Oliver, and the Fat Controller. I had a lot of fun playing as these characters, but everyone else did a great job too. But yeah, great comic dub, Mind Blocks. So yeah, that was my reaction. Hope you all enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and I hope you all have a wonderful day and be really useful.